100% in control of his own show. And we just found that out, guys, for sure now. I always felt like ESPN had a little bit more control over his show than what we actually were led to believe. Now, Pat McAfee actually had on Rich Eisen, who actually used to be on ESPN. And the subject of Caitlin Clark came up. And of course, Caitlin Clark is the big...
Speculation has been building over whether ESPN personality Pat McAfee actually controls his own program, after a recent on-air exchange raised doubts. When McAfee first joined the network, he insisted his show would stay exactly the same. In practice, the ESPN broadcast runs on a delay for language reasons, which is standard for cable. But a comment made during a simulcast with Rich Eisen suggested the network may have more say over his content than previously assumed.
Caitlin Clark is the biggest name in women's basketball. A lot of controversy on why she was actually left off of Team USA at the Olympics, but she's handling her business now that the WNBA season has resumed after the break. Well, folks, Pat McAfee has pretty much confirmed now that ESPN told him to shut the hell up when it comes to talking about Caitlin Clark. Now, if you guys remember...
During that conversation, the topic of Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark came up. Clark has become the most talked-about figure in women's basketball, drawing attention both for her play and for the debate around her exclusion from the U.S. Olympic roster. In the exchange with Eisen, a former ESPN host, McAfee remarked that he'd been steering clear of the subject. 2 months earlier, McAfee had referred to Clark using a crude phrase while praising her impact on the league's popularity, describing how he believed rival players viewed her. Though the comment was meant as a compliment about her influence, it triggered significant backlash, and McAfee, who rarely apologizes for controversial remarks, issued one the next day.
Hell up when it comes to talking about Caitlin Clark. Now, if you guys remember, man, Pat McAfee actually did say that he actually said that Caitlin Clark was that white bitch. Remember that? You know, joking fashion, making the WNBA relevant. But he did say that. And I guess ESPN did not like that. And they told him, hey, shut up about Caitlin Clark. Let's get into it, guys. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel,
When Clark's name resurfaced with Eisen, McAfee said, "The universe told me not to talk about her," adding that God came in and was like, "You know what, pal? Probably go ahead and stop it." Eisen, sounding surprised, asked why the universe would tell him that. McAfee's answer, "Because I'm an idiot, mostly." He went on to stress that he supports Clark, pointing out that his show traveled to Iowa to cover her before the men's NCAA tournament, specifically to capture the atmosphere around her college career. He acknowledged that his phrasing back in June had been poorly chosen, saying, "The way I speak, not good," and that he'd been reminded more than once to be more careful.
Like this video, subscribe to the channel, become a channel member live stream every single Friday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. You guys can also support us by becoming a member on blackandwhitenetwork.com or supporting us on Locals, both for just $5 per month. Check the links in the description. So here we go, guys. Over here on Outkick, Pat McAfee implies ESPN bosses told him not to talk about Caitlin Clark.
The remark set off immediate speculation among sports commentators that the universe was a stand-in for ESPN's management, essentially hinting that network executives had told him to drop the topic. That reading was amplified by outlets covering the story, prompting McAfee to respond directly. He stated on social media that he was speaking literally about God and the universe, not the network, and that ESPN has zero say over his show. He explained that his earlier comment about Clark had caused enough disruption in his personal and professional life that he chose, on his own, to stop bringing her up.
Told him not to talk about Caitlin Clark. It says here, 2 months ago, bombastic sports media personality Pat McAfee got himself into a little bit of trouble after referring to Caitlin Clark as a white bitch. Now, just looking at the words right there, man, you would actually think, he was actually being negative about Caitlin Clark. But he wasn't. He was actually, saying that in context. But anyway, now McAfee wasn't calling her that.
The episode has also drawn comparisons to an earlier situation involving Aaron Rodgers, a recurring guest on McAfee's show who has previously made pointed remarks about ESPN's leadership on air. Rodgers eventually stopped appearing on the program, a departure some assumed was tied to network pressure, though the exact circumstances were never fully clarified and coincided with the end of a season. Whether or not ESPN pushed McAfee to change course on Clark, the incident has renewed questions about how much editorial independence the network actually grants him.
In context. But anyway, now McAfee wasn't calling her that per se, but was speaking more as to how she was viewed by other players in the WNBA. Still, that set off a firestorm of controversy around McAfee, who doesn't usually apologize for the thing he says, because part of his brand is to not bow down to the mob. However, in the case of Clark, McAfee did apologize the following day. Yeah. So, right here, though, Rick.
The 1BA and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert are facing intense criticism. Jason Whitlock strongly called out the league for how poorly it has handled the Caitlin Clark situation overall. Engelbert has reportedly fallen short by nearly every measure, and there's speculation she could lose her job once the season wraps up. Adam Silver reportedly had to step in personally to resolve the dispute between Clark and Alyssa Thomas, because Engelbert seemed unable to manage it herself.
So, right here, though, Rich Eisen was on the show. And like I said, they brought up Caitlin Clark, and then Pat McAfee said it. I'm not supposed to be talking about her. What did he actually say? It actually says it right here. Well, the universe told him not to talk about her. And we know who the universe is. That is ESPN. So let's go ahead and watch this clip, guys, of Pat McAfee.
On top of that, longtime season ticket holders say they feel taken advantage of, with renewal prices jumping by more than $10,000 in some cases. The overall sentiment is that the league is mismanaging nearly every part of its operation right now.
Go ahead and watch this clip, guys, of Pat McAfee right here and Rich Eisen talking about this. Let's roll it.
Right.
10 years of off-season coverage is wild. Like the Olympics saved us this year. I assume same thing for you over there?
Caitlin Clark too, pal. There's no question about it.
Well, the universe told me not to talk about her.
Uh-oh. Is that right?
The universe. The universe.
Yeah, sent some messages.
Yeah, God came in and was like, you know what, pal? Probably go ahead and stop it.
I had no idea about that. Did you have a different universe? By the way, we're back on the Roku channel.
According to reporting from Front Office Sports, multiple season ticket holders described being blindsided after receiving their 2027 renewal notices. One Mystics fan said their devotion to the team couldn't outweigh how unaffordable the pricing has become, after their seats jumped 48%. Another report noted that ticket prices for the recent All-Star game quadrupled in cost to get in, compared to the previous year.
The channel, hit the bell notification and hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. Let's get right into things, man. We are rolling full steam ahead. Okay, here it says, several WNBA season ticket holders told Front Office Sports they were hit with a sticker shock after receiving their 2027 renewal offer. Here's a quote: "As much as I love it, my love for it can't sustain the pricing anymore," a Mystics fan said after their ticket jumped 48%. So it went up nearly 50%. Okay. Here it says WNBA season ticket holders grapple with soaring.
A Mystics ticket holder who had been renewing since 2021 said they won't be continuing after their floor seats at Entertainment Arena rose from $6,900 to $10,200, a 48% increase, and nearly 250% higher than what they were paying just a couple years back. Many fans reported feeling misled and disrespected by these steep hikes. The Phoenix Mercury, coming off a finals appearance in 2025, followed by a rough season, also sent out renewal notices with steep increases. One ticket holder named Adrian said his courtside seats at the team's arena jumped to nearly $15,000 per seat. Both the Mystics and Mercury sent their offers out in mid-July, and both mentioned that the league is expanding its regular season next year, with each team playing 25 home games instead of 22, a roughly 13.6% increase. Fans overall are unhappy, feeling like they're paying more to watch a product that, in their view, hasn't improved much on the court.
Prices, and we're going to get to what Jason Whitlock had to say about Kathy Engelbert, the whole WNBA, them completely ruining the product at this point and attempting to turn people off from Caitlin Clark. Here it says the WNBA continues to grow. Some of its most loyal fans fear they're being priced out. Coming off an All-Star game that saw the get-in price quintuple from year to year. Okay, now. Here it says, season ticket.
Attention then shifted to comments Whitlock made about the ongoing tension involving Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. He described the two as representing a different kind of feminism, one focused on playing basketball, earning recognition, and getting paid, rather than pushing for sweeping cultural or political change. In his view, both players still envision a traditional life path outside the sport, including marriage and family, which he framed as being at odds with a league culture that, he argued, prefers players more willing to challenge traditional structures. He argued, this makes them somewhat inconvenient for a league that, in his view, wants figures who push back harder against established norms.
Year to year, okay? Now, here it says, season ticket holders in several markets who say they were hit with sticker shock after receiving their renewal offers. Okay, and I want to get into the meat and potatoes of it. Here it says a Mystics season ticket holder in 2021 told Front Office Sports they don't plan, since 2021, told Front Office Sports they don't plan to renew their floor seats at Care First Arena after seeing a 48% jump in their ticket costs, going from $6,900 to $10,200. The 2027 price is also up nearly 250%.
This tied into broader frustration about Clark facing backlash for avoiding political statements. Whitlock argued that fans who admired Clark during her University of Iowa career weren't drawn to her because of any political stance. They were captivated by her deep three-point shooting, her long-range pull-ups reminiscent of Steph Curry, her full-court and no-look passing, and her overall flair. He questioned why the league seems intent on turning her into a political symbol now.
50% from last year. 250%. And so people feel blindsided. They feel like they got hustled. And they just feel flat out disrespected by the WNBA. It says the Phoenix Mercury, who have struggled this season after making the finals in 2025, have also sent out renewal offers. One season ticket holder, Adrian, told Front Office Sports his courtside seats at Mortgage Matchup Center increased by 60% from $9,000 to nearly $15,000.
He then contrasted Clark with Aja Wilson and Paige Buchers, suggesting the league benefits from framing Wilson as a dominant historic figure and Buchers as an anointed rising star, while relying on Clark's popularity to drive actual revenue without giving her the same institutional spotlight. This connected to broader commentary about players being labeled the next face of the league, while the financial engine behind the league's growth continues to be Clark. The argument was that it's inconsistent to depend on her drawing power for revenue, while crediting others as being equally responsible for the league's rise.
50% from $9,000 to nearly $15,000 per ticket. Per ticket. Mystics and Mercury season ticket holders received offers in mid-July, according to emails. Both emails mentioned the WNBA expanded regular season schedule next year. Each team will play 25 home games, a 13.6% increase from the current 22. Okay, so fans are not happy with this. Fans feel like they are getting hustled. I mean, damn, to pay all this money to watch a bunch of people miss layups over and over, I'd feel hustled as well. Now,
Whitlock used an old Hollywood reference, the 1953 film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, as an analogy, suggesting the general public gravitates toward one figure for entertainment and revenue, while institutions elevate someone else for symbolic or narrative purposes. He argued it's hard to claim someone else is defining the current era of the league when ratings, merchandise sales, and general fan interest continue to center on Clark.
Miss layups over and over, I'd feel hustled as well. Now, we have to get to what Jason Whitlock had to say about this whole Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham situation. Hey, look, Julie Tetzert could be appearing in the WNBA soon. This thing has gone crazy. We got to get into it.
Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham are the wrong chick flick. They're soft feminists, not hardcore extremists. They want to hoop. They want their voices heard. They want the checks and the lights.
He clarified that acknowledging other players' talent, like Wilson or Buchers, isn't the issue. Plenty of players are excellent, but he pushed back against the idea that anyone besides Clark is primarily responsible for the league's recent financial surge, arguing that framing is misleading given that many players still struggle with basic scoring efficiency.
They want the checks and the lights. They'll talk fairness, they'll talk opportunity, but they're not trying to torch the entire civilizational house so a new matriarchy can rule the ashes. At the end of the day, the life they've built or they're building for still has a husband in it, a white picket fence, kids, a normal woman's ending after the whistle. That's not a crime, that's a civilizational preference, and it makes them inconvenient to a league that needs work.
He suggested the league sometimes avoids building up Clark's individual spotlight and instead lets public narrative or criticism handle that work quietly. He then pointed to Cunningham as facing a similar dynamic after she spoke openly about issues like fairness and safety in women's sports, including debates around eligibility. He referenced a 2-decade-old comedy film, Joanna Man, about a man posing as a female athlete, noting that what was once treated as an absurd joke premise now feels closer to a real possibility. In his view, Cunningham faced exclusion for raising the topic directly, while the league instead amplified other voices.
Preference, and it makes them inconvenient to a league that needs women who treat male authority itself as the opposing team.
And this kind of circles back to people being, wanting to come out with their pitchforks because Caitlin Clark doesn't want to involve herself in politics, which I think is ridiculous because if you truly fell in love with Caitlin Clark, the basketball player, while she was starring at the University of Iowa, you weren't concerned with her politics. You were enamored with her logo threes, her pulling up from 35 feet off the dribble like Steph Curry doing something.
The overall takeaway offered was that the WNBA has repeatedly undermined its own success, failing to properly credit Clark's impact while trying to elevate other players to comparable star status, when ultimately, fan behavior, ratings, ticket sales, jersey sales, reflects where public interest actually lies. The conclusion drawn was that Clark remains the primary driver of the league's growth, and that efforts to cast her as a political figure or to suggest others are equally responsible don't match the actual data.